Christian Jack has been all over Canada's search for a new men's national team manager. What's the latest? Where do things stand, KJ?
Yeah, things are heating up in that manner. I'm hearing that it's getting closer to in-person interviews. Maybe even within the next week or so, with a number of international managers that have been vetted. Canada Soccer have been leaning on some significant ex-professionals to be involved in some of these meetings to get some advice from them as well. Obviously, give some intel in terms of their own opinions on some of these managers. And now I'm hearing at least 4 international managers of all 4 different nationalities, not Canadian at this point, will be getting individual meetings within the next few days.
Interesting. You mentioned the international connections or potential flavor that the Canada may go in terms of the direction of their next manager. We also know that there's Canadians in the picture as well. How much should nationality matter, Jordan, especially if that nationality happens to be the big bad rival to the south? Would Canadians be adverse to having an American manager oversee the program?
I don't think they should be. I think whoever comes in needs to be a person that is up for the job. And I know it sounds like cheesy or there's this, but what I mean by that is someone who's going to come in this locker room and say to these players, look, I want to take all of your game to the next level. I want to take this country that is hosting a World Cup, that has a passion for Canada, for soccer, and take them to another level. I don't care that you're American. Personally, for me, I don't think that Canadians should care about that either. I just think it's about the personality and the person that's coming in and the character that they have to take this team where it should go.
I may be the wrong person to ask who picked this country to live in, but and obviously spent a lot of time in the United States. I love it there. So I know how some Canadians can get wound up about having United States people in charge. I don't know whether it would work in hockey, for example. I can never see that happen. But we have to admit that there are significant United States gaffers now that have made a big difference in the world of football. And if we can attract some of those names, I am hearing that at least one of these international managers who will be getting an interview this week is from the US. There are some US managers out there that have made significant differences within Canadian football as well. So think about that for a second as well. I'm with Jordan. I don't think any nationality of any international football manager should be a difference maker. I think there are crucial times at certain moments when you need, and I don't think this is one, when you need, depending on whether you're England or Morocco or wherever you are, maybe to be galvanized by someone of your own, maybe at moments like that. There's certainly a feeling that. I lived it with Sven-Goran Eriksson time and, back to Capello with England and people saying we now need to get English. I don't think this is now a moment where we should discard Canadians, but I certainly don't think we're at that moment where we should say no to a United States manager.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just best candidate available.
100%.
Like, it's simple as that for me. But oftentimes in this country, I think that we are harder or more divisive on the Canadian candidate. And I don't think that works that way in most footballing nations.
My opinion on that, Gareth, is, again, as someone who's got a Canadian passport and loves this country, I think we don't do a very good job of that in any sport in this country.
No.
People here will celebrate the Toronto Maple Leafs more than they'll celebrate someone like Sidney Crosby, who's arguably one of the greatest hockey players to ever play the game, because he's Canadian and plays in Pittsburgh. Connor McDavid gets more love because Nathan McKinnon plays in Colorado and Connor McDavid plays in Canada. So I just don't think as a nation we do a great job of celebrating Jack Villeneuve when he won an F1 world title, or what Lance Stroll does, or what, so I think that is a sporting culture problem that I do think isn't just in football. But I'm with you. We do not celebrate Canadian success and people within Canadian here as much as I think we should.
So this is good news. Interviews are about to take place as the timeline starts to get expedited a little bit as we head into the summer months. And of course, Copa America. Let's talk some of the Canadian players who are very much the focal point, the faces of the Canadian men's national team project. Let's call them Davies and David. Alphonso Davies didn't play in the Champions League midweek, but his Bayern Munich side, you hate to see it, Jordan, get past Arsenal. They have a date with Real Madrid in the semi-final coming up. Of course, Davies has been linked to a summer move to Real Madrid. How big could this semi-final fixture potentially be between these two sides?
I mean, it's huge because it's the semi-finals. That's the obvious. Let's get that out of the way. But then obviously, this is not an everyday thing. A club like Bayern Munich that are perennial contenders that win. And then you're basically linked to a team like Real Madrid that anyone would want to play for. And that if you're Alphonso Davies, probably wants to play for as well. He needs to go and be not even the best player on the pitch, just the best version of himself. I see him sometimes as well, so much talent, so much quality, and he brings it every time that he plays. But this is just a time where you want to just be your best self and be in that game. And I think if you can do that and really relish the moment, I'm thinking back to when they won. and they played Barca, and just how he looked in that final. He just needs to be that Alphonso Davies. If he can do that, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, look, again, for me, you're in the shop window. A lot of these things may be already done behind closed doors, but if there's a decision to be made, you want to go out there and show your future employees what you're made of. No, but I think it's not just athletic or technical quality, it's up here. I just have incredible admiration for that club of Real Madrid. They are the greatest football club in the world for a reason, and it's not just down to talent. And if we can get arguably our finest and most talented player in this country to go play for them, imagine what that can do for this Canadian soccer program. He's not a surefire starter for that team, by the way, but what he's going to learn, again, away from the field, we see players out there like Lucas Vasquez and Nacho, and these players like Camavinga. Every time you go, what Fede Valverde did on the midweek playing out wide, everybody who goes there becomes a better player, not just because it's Carlo Ancelotti and he's arguably one of the most cerebral and calm managers in the world, but because of what that jersey represents, that shirt represents. Yeah. They're the mentality monsters of world football for a reason. And I just have so much admiration for Modric and Kroos. This is why we are in the ability of loving sport, because you see what the difference is between very good and great. That's what they have. And that's Davies now. Davies is a very good footballer. To be great, he can go there and put on that shirt, and the expectations that come with it, we should be really, really excited.
I mean, Real Madrid were second best. They weren't the better team on the field against Manchester City, but the pragmatic star players finding a way. By the way, the player that played his position, Mendy, was great in that game. So I think it's more about experiencing the greatness of Real Madrid and what makes them so special in these two legs. Davies has that in Bayern Munich, but I think you're right, KJ. Another level when it comes to Real Madrid. Davies was suspended this week. Be very much available for those Madrid fixtures. As for Jonathan David, this always happens. His name will pop up in the English media if and when he plays an English team. They played KJ's Aston Villa. Lille got knocked out in penalties. David did convert his penalty in that fixture. But then there again, Jonathan David in the shop window. Does it matter a fixture or game like that, KJ, in showing to, I guess, the English language media just how good Jonathan David is?
I would hope not, but I think it does. I hope that makes sense as an answer.
Yeah.
I think it shouldn't, but it does. And when I speak to people all over the world, fans in England, agents, different people within the game, they talk about it because, let's see what he can do against Premier League opposition. They just hold that league to such a high standard that I have to explain to some people why I think he's better than Brennan Johnson going for £47 million, or Ivan Toney. Players like that are very good strikers, but I just think that we have been so ahead of the game in what this man can do in world football that it's okay for us in Canada to say, I think world football has missed the mark with this man. I think that he is criminally underrated. And okay, he's scoring goals in France. He didn't score against Aston Villa. But I'll say this one more time about Jonathan David. His work rate off the ball is absolutely sensational. As a modern-day defensive forward, wherever he will go, he will be better for it. And whether it's going to the Premier League or whether it's going to Serie A, wherever it be, he will be fine, and that club will be lucky to have him. So I just hope that the Premier League, if they do take him in, take care of him.
I'll take the bias out of it, just being a Canadian player. Watching him play outside of his work rate, he is so clever. I think he's built for the Premier League as well. Look, I'm not saying a top team, like you're going to Man City. He needs to go to a place where he can play. But he has it all. One-touch finishing with the right foot, his movement off the ball. His work rate for me is probably my favorite because you want a number 9 that is just going to be gritty and put their body on the line and press center backs. But I think he has it all. I think his next move, though, is so important. And where that is, only God knows.
Well, he scored again today against Strasbourg, by the way, in a 1-0 victory. He could also play in a 2 up top, and that's something that we talked about. I just wonder if some sides might start going back in that direction. I think that why last summer didn't happen and the complicated matter this summer is what's his valuation? What is he worth when financial fair play is taking such a big role in terms of every deal that's made? So which club is in that position to spend whatever dollar value that is that's going to be required to take care of his services?
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer to that question is.
No, look, there's a lot of clubs out there that need number 9s. That's the other thing too, is that for me across the world football, we're seeing number 9s, struggling at different times, right? We're getting wide players score goals a lot as well. So look, his destination is very important, though, like Jordan says. We've got some players right now playing for the national team who are not playing enough minutes at the moment. For the next national team manager, we cannot have the elite players going to a club where you're only playing 1 out of 3. He needs to find a place to play, and I hope that this extra year in Lille has at least elevated him in the eyes of the scouts to say, play him. You've got to be patient and just play him.
Quickly, I don't know if it was Oliver Platt, the handsome Oliver Platt that said, but do we mind if Jonathan David stays at Lille, or he has to move this summer? Do you feel like that, KJ?
I think it's time, yeah.
Yeah?
I think the player prefers to move as well. I think that's the biggest factor. And I don't know what that destination will be, but there's no shortage of clubs that need a player like Jonathan David.
Yeah, he fits the bill, man.
The timing seems better now than it did before.
He's very special. And we have to also mention this quickly, is that people forget the ability for him to go to another area under a top-class coach and go to another level. We not just, I don't want to just see Jonathan David now and this be his peak and him to go somewhere else. And that's okay, that's fine. He's scoring 25, 26 goals a season. That's okay. But imagine getting to a top environment and expectations are that you win every week and you go to another level of club and another level of coaching. No disrespect to Fonseca and Lille. The sky is the sky is the limit, though.
I think there's no coincidence that he's doing better and a better manager this year in Fonseca either. I think it's been key.
Just to put a bow on all of this, there's a lot of players playing for Canada right now, playing at the club level in Europe under top-class coaches.
Yep.
And back to your point, whoever's going to get that job where the presence needs to come in, they need to be able to control that room.
Christian Jack, professional broadcaster, bringing it full circle.
No. You're the one who's hosting, my friend.
Another professional broadcaster, Andy Petrillo, co-hosts a little program we like to call One Nation.
I don't yell for that one, but I'm
Petrillo
excited
and
for that
Jordan
one as well.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Did you get a word in on that show?
Sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Mostly I hype up Andy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I do.
One soccer
They'll do.
couple.
Yeah, that's power couple.
There you go.
One Nation,
That's the
Tuesdays
homie,
at
man.
7 p.m. We have Can Champ this week, but One Nation, they'll be there for you and I and Canadian soccer. The Canadian Championship look ahead is next here on Match Night.